Good morning. Please rise and join me in our opening hymn, which is number 1035 in the Teal hymnal. It's called Freedom is Coming. I understand this might be a new hymn to ERUUF. So I'm going to sing, and then if you would just join in with me, and it's extremely repetitive, so you should have absolutely no problem. So here we go. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Join me. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Oh, yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, yes, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. Please be seated.
Good morning. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF as we like to say. My name is Reverend Jacqueline Brett. I'm the lead minister here, and I often don't come or show up as robed as I am today, but I got a special gift last Sunday, and I just wanted to show it off this week. My thanks to all of you for this wonderful installation stole. I really love it, and I think whoever did the selecting of it did it really well, as it works well with my robe. But anyway, so whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, whatever your racial identity, whatever your gender identity, know that you are welcome to be here with us in beloved community. If you are visiting with us for the first or perhaps even the second time, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Welcome, 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 all of you, and we thank you and are so glad that you have chosen to spend this rainy Sunday morning with us. And we invite you to several things directly after, well, actually, if you have children with you this morning, they are welcome to join our religious education classes after the time for all ages. You'll hear the music when the kids are sung out, and if you want your children to join that group, just head on out with the other parents, and folks will take care of you and your children then. And if you are visiting, we invite you to the Inquirers class for visitors and newcomers in the building right next door. And today's class is a Q&A with a minister. Guess who that might be? So we invite you to come to that class where you'll learn a little bit about ERUUF and have an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself as well. I have a few announcements today. I just wanted everyone to know that next Sunday, February 19th at 12:30, we will have a finance forum, and that is to basically let you know about where our finances currently stand at the mid-year point, and all are welcome to attend that. We especially would like the members and friends to attend. It will be online on Zoom, and you can find that information in the e-news. Also in the e-news, as many of you know, Monday there was a very devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria. And so I reached out to our friends at the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, the UUSC, and they have recommended some places, some groups on the ground in Turkey and Syria, especially right now, who they suggest that we can give donations to. And so if you would like to know who those groups are, and we encourage you to go ahead and give, please see e-news. All of that information is in the e-news, and there's a huge, huge need there, and it's going to be a big need for many, many months to come. So I encourage us to just give, because this is an important thing. Today's music is by the ERS, the Eno River Singers, as well as our pianist Kate Lewis and our music director Wendy Looker. Today's tech team is John Fellheim on camera, and Merle Lafferty is managing our YouTube and Facebook live stream. Jim Van Verth and King Sage are today's sound team. So now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you might have on your person. And I invite us all now to just center ourselves into this time and this place. And let's all together take a deep breath in and let it out. And let us begin worship.
Congregare
You are beloved, and you are welcomed here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth.
You are beloved. You are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort.
You are beloved. You are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing promises.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here, whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment.
You are beloved. You are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together.
In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our choices. And let us look first at the response of love. And now let us sing together. Please rise in body or spirit, and Pam DeLavore will lead us.
We'll sing When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's 10:08 in the Teal Hymnal. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every creed and kind, when we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. Before you sit back down, please turn and greet those around you.
Welcome on down, our smallest and mediumest and largest people, and our children at heart also, for our time for all ages. Yes, oh my God. We got some space over here too if you're a little cramped, but I think we're filling up this space nicely. I'm liking it. Oh, I got somebody popping over here. Hello, good morning. Oh, let's scoot forward just a little bit so we can we scoot forward a little bit right there? Because we've got some people trying to fit in. We want to make some space for them. Surprisingly apt thing to do for our story this morning. A murmur set through the crowd. Oh, let's scoot forward just a little bit more. We got somebody coming in the back there. Excellent. Good morning, good morning. This is a rainy morning, isn't it? It is a rainy morning. A surprisingly appropriate morning for this story. There's something on the screen behind me that's giving it away, isn't there? The big umbrella. So this story is about a big umbrella. We will talk about a big umbrella. How many people had an umbrella this morning when they came in? How many people? Anybody out there? I bet you there's some umbrellas in the lobby if we looked out there right now. But I also, especially for those of you who are a little bit older down here, and especially for those of you who are a little bit older out there, you might think about what are the bigger messages in this story other than just this big umbrella. All right. Oh, a little bit of a rainy day starting us out. And a house with a light. By the front door, there is an umbrella. What's that umbrella doing? Smiling. Yes. Do normal umbrellas smile? No. I mean, if I were an umbrella, I might smile, but I think I would make a very strange umbrella. It is big. A very large umbrella. Apparently a very happy umbrella, too. It is a big, friendly umbrella. It likes to help. What ways does an umbrella usually help in? Yeah?
Covering people from rain.
Covering people from rain. Were you going to say something too?
And leaves and stuff.
You were going to say that too? Yeah. So covering from rain. What else we got? Too.
Shade.
Shade, yeah.
Covering.
Covering from the sun, yes.
In the summer sometimes, like leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves also fall off trees
They do.
and you can use a umbrella.
That's true, that's true.
One time, my mom, well, yeah, I think it was my mom, because I didn't know. One part of my family was, we were on the beach and we saw a girl walking by with a clear umbrella.
Somebody walking on the beach with a clear umbrella. Woo, I don't know what that would do. I think I'd get hot under that. So I'm going to give you a hint, though. This umbrella likes to help in different ways. Yes? It helps in those ways, too.
One time I saw someone with a rainbow umbrella.
Oh, with a rainbow umbrella? That sounds very fancy. It likes to spread its arms wide. Can you spread your arms wide like a large umbrella? Be careful of the people next to you, though. Because if we're all spreading our arms wide, we might bump into each other. It loves to give shelter. It has added somebody into the umbrella, under the umbrella. It loves to gather people in. There's a ballerina under. There's, I think, a basketball player underneath. It doesn't matter if you are tall. Now, do you think this creature is going to fit under this umbrella? There is a mix of opinions. There is a mix of opinions, my friend.
He could fit.
Let's see what happens. Scandalo. It does fit. Now, if this was reality, maybe not. But this is a magical umbrella. It doesn't matter if you are hairy. This creature is very hairy. Hairiness fits under the umbrella too. Or plaid. I bet you plaid fits under this umbrella too. Indeed it does. It doesn't matter how many legs you have. What a sad looking dog. What do you notice about this umbrella?
Yeah, feet.
I hear many things, but among them I hear it's getting wider and bigger. Oh my God, yes. Somebody, yes indeed. And thinner in ways, yeah, might have to. Some people worry that there won't be enough room under the big umbrella. Some people already know where this story is going. Some of you do too. But the amazing thing is, there is. It just keeps expanding to make space. Mm-hmm. There is always room. Room for all these people, room for all these activities, room for all this life. Room for all of these people to come together. And that's our very simple story about a very big umbrella that can also be small. But if we decide to make that umbrella big, it can become big enough to fit everybody.
Everybody in the world?
Maybe everybody in the world. Indeed.
Maybe it could cover the world.
Maybe it could cover the world, yes.
Cover the universe.
Yes.
Cover the space.
Maybe it could. And on that note, it's time for us to start RE.
Maybe it could cover life.
Thank you, you lovely people. Oh, now in peace, go.
Hello, my name is Audrey Green. I am a member of the ERUUF Afghan Refugee Support Team. I was asked to provide you with an update on the families this fellowship has supported since the fall of 2021. Over 1,200 Afghanistan immigrants found refuge in North Carolina as part of the influx of over 70,000 who sought refuge in the United States in 2021. Church World Service initiated a hugely successful first-ever sponsorship program to help their organization handle the unprecedented number of refugee families that they supported. ERUUF was one of the first sponsors to raise their hand. It was an honor to partner with Church World Service in supporting our Afghan families. I'd like to personally thank Church World Service Community Sponsorship Coordinator Ann-Louise Pass, who is with us today, for her leadership and tireless efforts to support refugee families from all reaches of the world, including now incoming Ukrainian families. What started as an agreement with Church World Service to sponsor one Afghan family grew to ERUUF sponsorship of 3 families, thanks to your generosity and the commitment of a fantastic ERUUF sponsorship team, many of whom are standing here with me now. By December of 2021, the Azizi, Safi, and Moman families, totaling 16 individuals, were welcomed into our sponsorship. With the arrival of 2 babies in 2022, our sponsorship numbers grew from 16 to 18. It is our prayer that this number will soon grow again as we continue to work diligently with the Moman family to bring to the U.S. 3 children who were sadly left behind in Afghanistan. In a little over a year, these 3 families are successfully self-sustaining, in part because of our efforts, but they deserve the bulk of the credit for this success. These are resilient, resourceful, hardworking, and graceful people, and they have been through unimaginable circumstances. They left behind family and friends, homes and cars, good-paying jobs, a higher standard of living than they now know. But they are safe here, they are settled, and they are grateful. We applaud their accomplishments. All of the husbands are now employed and continue to work toward next best opportunities for employment and higher wages. They all have independent housing with leases in their own names, and one is pursuing home ownership. They are all diligent students of the English language. The children are engaged in their schools, learning in pods with other Afghan children, quickly learning English, and is so often the case with immigrant children, helping their parents' comprehension of the English language as well. They are successfully networking with others, other Afghans, their neighbors, their colleagues, to get and provide support in their communities. We at ERUUF together raised $38,500, which paid for furniture, cars, rent, and utilities. We still have $5,000 of these funds, which we intend to use to support ongoing legal challenges for our families. You donated furniture, rugs, a car, piles and boxes of household items, and dozens of food gift cards. You helped purchase and repair 2 used cars and helped the 3 men prepare for and pass their driver's license exams. We helped find and set up 3 furnished homes and paid the first few months' rent at each dwelling. We coordinated with Church World Service, assuring our families knew how to utilize the many resources available to them through this agency: food stamps, medical care, rent support. We paid legal expenses and helped navigate legal processes. We navigated health care and dental appointments. We supported 2 moms through prenatal care, labor, and delivery. We assisted in job searches and interview preparations. We organized field trips for the families. We provided and still provide ESL tutoring and childcare. We registered the children in public schools and helped the parents understand how to stay engaged in their education. We organized critical files and papers, both legal and medical. We provided transportation for months prior to the purchase of cars. Though our official sponsorship with Church World Service ended months ago, these families have become our friends, and many of us are still engaged in their lives, providing ESL for women who are illiterate in any language. The challenge is large, learning to write and read for the first time in a foreign language, helping each family understand and navigate their legal statuses in the United States, supporting reunification efforts for the children of the Moman family who still reside in Afghanistan, answering questions that arise about managing life in this country and guiding them to helpful resources. We'd like to now acknowledge anyone who participated, donated, volunteered, or cheered on the efforts to support these families. Will you please rise? And I just want to piggyback on the children's story. I want everyone in here to feel grateful for the large umbrella that we create to make everyone feel welcome, every one of us. When we asked the families if there was anything they'd like us to say to you, they asked that we extend their heartfelt thanks. As is often their custom when expressing gratitude, I ask now that you place your hand on your heart. And now we'll say these words to you in their native language. Az amak kalbam tashakor meknam. Thank you from the deepest places of our hearts. Thank you.
Please join me now in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, this morning as a people who care and are committed to justice, may we remember to always keep our minds open, our hearts welcoming, and our arms embracing. With a spirit of gratitude, we celebrate the joy of being in community and expanding that big umbrella. We celebrate the importance of Black history, not just in February, but every month, honoring the wisdom, the stories, and the gifts of the African American community, and recognizing the importance of teaching this in our schools and universities. Yes. We also celebrate the power of fellowship. May we always work to offer a place of belonging for all who come, to feel part of something greater. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. As a people who care for one another, we lift up all our prayers and blessings this morning, and we hold in our hearts Karen Chase and her family after the passing of her mother, Nina Ruth Keller Nailing. We hold in our hearts Lynn Johnson, who requests prayers for healing and recovery from a recent surgery. We hold in our hearts David Tucker, who requests prayers for his mother's recovery from a fall. We hold in our hearts Nancy Hardy as she recovers from a recent surgery. We hold in our hearts all those impacted by the recent earthquakes in Syria and Turkey. May they find the resources and strength needed to face the enormous challenges of this moment. We hold in our hearts the families from Afghanistan, which ERUUF's Immigrant and Justice Group has been supporting for several years now. We hold in our hearts refugees around the globe, that they may know safety and support, both physical and spiritual. We hold in our hearts and lift up all those whose lives are touched by war or disaster, illness or loneliness, worry or despair. May they find comfort, hope, healing, and strength. We remember at times of deep concern, even when life pulls us off center, love invites us home. Even when challenges seem overwhelming, love calls our name. As we answer the call of love, we give thanks for the many ways we can find a sense of connection and fellowship here. And remember the fire of our commitment to bring hope and work for justice, to care for the living and breathing earth, and to live in a spirit of unity and compassion. On this day, let us pause in this sacred moment and breathe in the silence together. And so it is. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I'm just taking you all in. So last week we celebrated through various events our embarking on the great project of creating the next chapter for this community. And because we create this chapter together, the very big deal about last weekend was the ritual act of installation, which board chair Sarah Terry led the congregation in formally installing me as your lead minister. It was the act of entering into a covenantal agreement together. It was not a contract. As with all covenants, our act of installation was much deeper than a contract. It was the most sacred agreement, one of the most important acts that a congregation engages in with a minister, that a minister enters into with a congregation. It is a ritual act of marking the crossing of a threshold as we head out together as pilgrims on this journey, bringing to bear both our imagination and the longings of our hearts to be realized and to be transformed, to dream new dreams, to co-create what has not yet been created at ERUUF up to this point. And as with any journey of significance, despite all of our planning, there is no way that any of us can possibly know all of what awaits us. So I invite us all to be present to the rarity of the moment that we're in. Because if you're a healthy congregation, you don't do this too often. And if you're a decent minister, you don't do it too often either. But I want you to be present to your feelings about it all, to the resonance of the experience we've all just shared in together, because it's easy to move on to all the doing that we do, and we do a lot of doing around here, but I just want us to be present to the resonance of it all. And let's just take a moment of silence for that. A shame. And so because there are things going on in the world aside from what is going on among us here, I think it's important to take note yet again that on Monday there was a terrible earthquake in another part of the world, in Turkey and in Syria. So please do what you can to aid this effort. See the e-news for details on how to do that. And as Daniel mentioned in the prayer, February is also Black History Month, and also the month that we especially lift up a celebration of love. And while these three things, including our own concerns at ERUUF, might seem disconnected one from the other, they are actually interconnected, as things always are. Not only do we Unitarian Universalists hold as our core principle, or one of our core principles, that everyone is a part of the interdependent web of all existence, but we are also reminded by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he famously pointed out 60 years ago in his letter from a Birmingham jail that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. In her new book, Casting Indra's Net, Buddhist writer and justice activist Pamela Ayo-Yetunde points out that though King's beautiful words came from the thinking of a Christian, you won't find them in the Bible. Where did this inescapable network concept come from? She wondered. and then surmised, given that King studied the Hindu social activist Mohandas K. Gandhi, the theologian in me, she says, sees an embedded Vedic cosmology, anthropology, and philosophy within King's Christian message. In ancient Vedic thought, the inescapable network is called Indra's net. The imagery is of a net that spans the universe, and each node within the net is a jewel that reflects all the other jewels. It is a metaphor for the way that all of life is interconnected. We are mirrors, diamonds, and pearls in this flowing universal net. And so now listen closely as Reverend Daniel shares more of Yetunde's thoughts about the interconnected network of mutuality that suggests far more than metaphor.
A network can refer to something technical, like the internet or one's cell phone coverage, or it can refer more colloquially to the connections between a group of people. Networking skills are highly prized in our culture, and I have benefited from learning about how to network. For our contemplative purposes, however, I am interested in a kind of network done not in order to get what we want, but in order to enhance the well-being of individuals and the collective as a whole. Maybe we can call this kind of networking whole working, connecting with others not simply to achieve success in a career, but to affirm our mutuality. Whole working, then, is meeting people to improve the inner workings of ourselves within the network, and thus the inner workings of the network itself. It is promoting wholeness through the way we mirror one another, shining a bit more brightly from our place in Indra's net. Reflecting each other like jewels is not a psychedelic head trip, but an alternative way of understanding ourselves through a mystical anthropology, understanding our humanness by transcending all categorization within the web of life. Let me read that last one more time. Reflecting each other like jewels is not a psychedelic head trip, but an alternative way of understanding ourselves through a mystical anthropology, understanding our humanness by transcending all categorization within the web of life. This is what I understand Dr. King to mean in his phrase, the inescapable network of our mutuality. This is the world of Indra's net, which I interchangeably call the net and the network. Indra's net is the intricate web of our original innate mutuality, affirmed at the moment of our birth by those responsible for helping us breathe our first post-womb breath. The net holds all of our rites of passage in its garment of destiny. That's what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called it, and it exists within every energized atom. No matter how much we label one another, create boundaries, build walls, reify nations, pass legislation, reinforce classes and castes, construct racial and ethnic categories, privilege ourselves over other species, and so on, we will still live in an inescapable network. Even if we move to another country, we will live in an inescapable global network. If we ever live on other planets, we will still live in an inescapable cosmic network. Given this reality, why not work toward a network of which we are already a part, that promotes the reality of our mutuality over the choices we make to be brutal? Collectively, we are profoundly ignorant of our interconnection. and anxious about our interdependence. We can grow in knowledge and take delight in our true nature if we make relationality our top priority.
Thank you, Daniel. We are profoundly ignorant of our interconnection and anxious about our interdependence. Something to think about. So we know that most people who show up here at ERUUF do so out of an interest in doing works of justice in a community of faith they're in alignment with. This is all wonderful and is a testament to who we are and what we're known for. However, as I've said in the past, doing works of justice actually requires something of us. More than a faith-related interest in justice is required. And if we go a level deeper, even more than engagement in acts of justice is required. Philosopher and activist Dr. Cornel West has said, love is what justice looks like in public. Brother West, as he is known, isn't the only one to have understood this. Mystics, teachers, prophets, and sages the world over have understood this throughout time. Martin Luther King Jr. said, power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice. So imagine, if you would, what our network of mutuality would look like, be like, if we actually held love at the center of any of our demands for justice, no matter how small, no matter how great. And the other half of King's statement was, justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. So imagine, if you would, what our network of mutuality would look like, be like, if power was amassed for the primary goal of correcting everything that stands against love, no matter how small, no matter how great. So the action word here that has the capacity to make the greatest difference in our network of mutuality is love. And while that might sound highly improbable and unlikely, consider this. In highly effective forms of justice organizing, power is amassed through simple one-on-one relationships. And so we might imagine if these one-on-one relationships held at their center an intentional consciousness of love, what might that result in? And as I always do, I clarify that I am not speaking here of the emotional, sentimental love that some of us will celebrate this coming Tuesday. And there is nothing wrong with that form of love. In fact, some of us are here because of it, on the planet, I mean. However, the quality of love I'm talking about is what King said just before he explained the connection between love and justice. He said, power without love is reckless and abusive. And love without power is sentimental and anemic. We Unitarian Universalists say that we side with love. But what does that mean exactly? I contend that it means that, yes, we place love at the center of our work on behalf of justice, and also that this love requires something of us. However, I also believe that most of us, even as we're in the middle of our acts of justice, actually forget this if we give it much of a thought at all. I believe that if we are not engaged in justice as an act of love, then something is missing, or perhaps our motives might even be questionable. After all, what would make us different from others who are passionate about their own beliefs and hold an opposing view? I believe we must understand love and justice and understand how to act from that space within ourselves. So back in the fall, when we were in the middle of the voting season, and I included in the welcome that no matter how you voted, that you are welcome to co-create beloved community with us. And boy, did I know some people didn't like that I said that. I mean, honestly, and I get their concerns. People wrote me or said to me, how could we possibly welcome people who might spew hatred, negativity, and mistruths in this community, who would vote in ways that are ultimately harmful to others? Well, I first of all want to clarify that I said folks are welcome to co-create beloved community with us, which requires something specific of us all, which I must say that even some of us have difficulty living into. If there is a thought that everyone here votes the same, thinks the same about all things, we will discover that we are naive and woefully mistaken. And yet, the fact that we don't all think in the same ways should not surprise us. And it also does not negate the possibility of creating beloved community together. And so what I would say is that we cannot call ourselves people who side with love when we do not love, when love is required of us. Love is an active, courageous, personally challenging way of being. That's the love that I'm talking about. If we only love those who love us back, there is little of any, if anything, required of us. Are we then actually on the side of love, or simply doing what we feel like doing when it feels comfortable? And we must then consider, what are we ultimately creating? What is at the root of it all? For me personally, I want the thing that's rooted in love. I do not suggest or even imply that any person place themselves in a life-threatening or traumatizing situation. However, be aware that nonetheless, that the work of healing a broken world requires something of us. And it isn't convenient. It isn't easy for any of us. It requires that we take specific actions and hold our hearts open ultimately to compassion, which is defined quite simply as concern for the sufferings of another, even when another is someone we struggle to care about. When one of my sons was in high school here in Durham, he was involved in a documentary project with an elderly Black woman who had been a civil rights activist in this town for many decades. Her name was Ann Atwater, and back in 1971, Ms. Atwater was a poor Black single mom who was appointed by a Durham councilman to co-chair a committee to resolve issues surrounding school integration that was finally, after it was passed in 1954, but in 1971, it was finally taking place in Durham and was being met with great opposition. Ms. Atwater was to co-chair with C.P. Ellis, who was then the exalted Grand Cyclops of the Durham Ku Klux Klan. Now, you might be wondering, as I did when I heard about this, whether success was ever really intended for this committee in putting these two people together. As one might imagine, they had no love for each other. But as they eventually came to know one another through their work, They began to realize they had more in common in terms of being people raising children in poverty than they did not. By the end of their work together, Ellis gave up his leadership in the KKK and he became a civil rights activist as well. Yes, I'll give some snaps to that. He and Ann Atwater remained friends to the end of their lives. A documentary called An Unlikely Friendship was made about them, and then a book called The Best of Enemies was written about their friendship, which was turned into a play and then into a 2019 movie starring Taraji P. Henson and Sam Rockwell. You can probably find it on Netflix or Amazon if you look. So to my mind, there aren't nearly enough stories like this. But every time I become aware of another, my heart believes more is possible. If not on the issue of race, then on some other issue. But we'll never find out if we choose not to communicate or do the hard work of cultivating compassion for those who we disagree with. The Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg says, sometimes we think that to develop an open heart, to be truly loving and compassionate, means that we need to be passive, to allow others to abuse us, to smile and let anyone do what they want with us. Yet this is not what is meant by compassion. Compassion is not at all weak. It is the strength that rises out of seeing the true nature of suffering in the world. Compassion allows us to bear witness to that suffering, whether it is in ourselves, without fear. It allows us to name injustice without hesitation and to act strongly with all the skill at our disposal. To view life compassionately, Salzberg says, we have to look at what is happening and at the conditions that gave rise to it, instead of only looking at the last point or the end result. We need to see all the constituent parts. We must have the openness and spaciousness to see both the conditions and the context. What this might mean for us is that while love can seem intangible, compassion becomes a tangible gateway. We can hold compassion for those we love and choose to hold compassion for those we take issue with or don't even know. And admittedly, for some of us, this is not easy and perhaps not the starting point. A more self-compassionate way is to commit to do no harm, whether it is to people we love or people we don't love, whether in thought, in word, or deed, at all times, no exceptions. It's aspirational, and for most of us, it takes some practice and some work. The Buddha famously taught, the thought manifests as the word, and the word manifests as the deed. The deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into character. So watch the thought and its ways with care, and let it spring from love, born out of a concern for all beings. And so may we come to fully embrace the inescapable network of mutuality in which we live, to learn to cultivate compassion for all beings as the surest reflection of ourselves and the means for how our faith-rooted justice gets to be what love looks like in public. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be. Each Sunday, we gather in community to build beloved community together. And all that we see and all that we have here is a result of that. And so as the greeters come forward to take up this morning's collection, I invite you to give what you can. And if you don't have a cash or check on your person, you may go to ERUUF.org on your advice and press give, and you'll be able to give in that way. Thanks. We give thanks for this morning. We give thanks for all of the gifts of this beloved community. And we give thanks to our choir and our musicians this morning. Just give them some thanks. And so we will have our closing hymn at this time, and Pam will lead us.
Please rise and body your spirit to sing I Know I Can. Though days be dark with storm Though the journey is long, the destination is near. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. So siblings, take my hand, and kindred sing my song. When hope remains at every turn, I know I can go on.
Our closing words today are by Pamela Ayo Yetunde, who writes, "For me, the truest nature of love is felt. The felt sense of love cannot be perfectly produced just by words. If you are like me, you will feel loved by someone when they look at you in the eye and smile. They are mostly quiet as they listen to you. They are curious about what you feel and how you experience life. They wish no harm to you. They wish the best for you. They have a desire to help you when you are in need, even if they cannot really help you. They encourage you to help yourself because they really believe you have the capability to do so. They show hospitality. They apologize when they get it all wrong. And when we do this for others, we strengthen the net. And so irrespective of what people do for us, may we be committed to strengthening the net. May it be so, my friends. Go in love and go in peace. Ashe.